folks, and welcome to May's Coffee and Cards. It's May 2022. Apologies, we're a bit running late this month. It's been really busy mainly in April actually, which is why I'm behind in starting April's, but here we are. So, and this month we're using the Waves of Inspiration bundle. So gorgeous stamp set. This is my favourite. I just love the crane. Crane. I always want to call them crane. It's not as a pelican. And you get all these gorgeous stamps and then some fantastic dies. And I'm just loving these, the label dies and the little bits to go on the clouds and the waves. They're absolutely gorgeous. So most of you have bought the dies. One or two of you haven't. So those that haven't have actually included the dies of the waves and things. I'm afraid you're fussy cutting the pelican out because I can't send you stamped images. I can only send you the die cuts. Right, so let's get started. So on this one we're using the beautiful wave stamp plus the die cut and a little sentiment there. And this card is actually based on a card I saw that Nancy Miller Amato did on her YouTube channel, I think. Or maybe it was on Pinterest, I can't remember. But I remember it was Nancy Miller Amato who actually based this card on, and she gave me the idea of blending onto the clouds, which I'd not thought of before. So I'll show you how this is made. Right, so what I've done with the basic white part, I've actually done quite a bit of blending on this card. So I've made it slightly bigger than we need, because when you come onto the card, as you can see on these clouds, I wanted on these clouds to get the dark on the border, whereas on this bit of the card I don't. And also I want to make sure that the wave is right to the edge of the card. So the basic white I've given you is slightly bigger than it needs, so it will need to be trimmed after you've done all your blending. Right, so here we go. Now unfortunately the foils and the DSP I'm using in this kit are no longer available. There were a special offer that was just available through April. It was an early, it might have been longer than that, but it was an early release, and the DSP and foils weren't continued to the main catalogue, but the stamp set and dies were. Okay, so I'm going to start with the piece for the background. Okay, and as I say, it's slightly bigger than it needs to be. And the first thing I'm going to do is stamp on my wave. Now, it does fit on our massive stamp block, but it's quite heavy, so I'm actually going to use my Stamparatus, which is here. If I can find it amongst all my tools. There we go. Okay, so I've got my Stamparatus here, and I'm just going to pop the stamp in place. So you don't need the mat because we're using a rubber stamp, and I'm just going to position my stamp at the bottom and straight. Gosh, my Stamparatus is filthy, I've just noticed. It's covered in ink. Just give that a bit of a wipe off. Okay, so, and I'm just going to pop that so it's just above the line here on my grid paper. Pick it up. There we go. And I'm using Pacific Point for this piece. So I'm just inking up my stamp. Just putting my hand underneath just to make sure that the stamp's nice and flat so I can actually get ink all the way along. What I'm actually going to do first is stamp it onto my paper so I can see where it lays. And somewhere under all this lot I've got my little doobie tool. Oh, there it is. So, and I'm just going to use this whiteboard cleaner, like a mini whiteboard cleaner my husband got at a conference years ago. And there we go. Let's see. Let's go a wee bit just towards the edge there. So there we go. So now you can see where the stamp is. I'm going to pop my card on. Oh, and you wonder why I've got ink on this. Thou shalt never leave a stamp block open. That's lots of ink on there, isn't it? There we go. Let's go in. Right. Okay. Pop that to one side. And I'm just going to pop this on, and I want the wave to be as near to the bottom as I can be. So I'm just going to line it up with the stamp and pop that magnet on this corner here, because the stamp's not going to go there. There we go. And we get ink up, just tapping our ink pad along. Tap, 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 tap. So the advantage with the Stamparatus is if you're not completely happy with the way it's come out, it doesn't matter, you just stamp it again. Providing your paper hasn't moved, it's fine. Okay, let's see. There we go, so beautiful. Quite happy with that. It runs along the edge there. I'm just going to trim off a little bit on each side. Excuse me, once I've done my blending. Okay, so we'll pop that out. And just pop that to one side. I'll clean it up in a minute. Right. I apologise for the odd banging noise. That's the problem with filming on a Saturday, because the children are at home. So every now and then you'll hear. So now I am trying to remember what, I'm pretty certain I used, let's just see. I'm just gonna do a test blend. Did I use that blue, or did I use, bet you, looking at that I used Bermuda Bay. So most of you have got Bermuda Bay because we had it in one of our previous coffee and card kits. So, okay, there we go. So I'm just going to blend now. After ages and ages of trying to get my blending smooth, I don't want this smooth. I want it to look rather like a cloudscape. So I actually do want gaps, and I want bits that are a bit heavier than other bits. So just gently going in, squiggling about all over the place, including over the wave. So just hints of colour there. I've not managed, just there I've managed to get a darker edge. Okay, but I'm quite happy with that. So it's not super smooth. As you can see, there's different colours there, but it just gives that hint of sky. I might just do a little bit more here. And then to save time on this video, obviously I've cut out the die cuts already. So, and also because they just seem to take up the whole of the screen when I've got my die cut machine out as well. So I have pre-cut my sentiment, my cloud, and then the piece to go on the cloud. And if you look very carefully at the cloud, you can see it's actually textured as well. It's got little wisps in it too. So again, picking up a little bit of the ink. You don't need very much, and I'm just going to blend that top edge, not the white bit, just blending the top edge of this cloud just to give it some definition against the sky. There we go. Just going to come a bit from this direction just to pick up that edge so you can really see the edge of the cloud there. So, and then the only time I put my finger on the top of the brush like this is when I'm trying to offload the ink. I don't do it when I'm actually blending because you end up with splodges. Okay, right. There we go. So just going to glue this together. So the other thing I do need to do is stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to get the Pacific Point back up, and I've stamped "You're Totally Awesome" on here. I think I've mentioned before when I was showing you all the DSP that this comes with. When I first became a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I didn't like sentiments like this because I am from the UK and we don't like things like this. We're very stiff upper lip, and I'm now more of a feeling that I think we should appreciate people more than we do, and people are totally awesome, and we should thank them for it. So now I've put the sentiment as straight as I can on the block. Now, if you've got the dies, I suggest you stamp your sentiment and then cut it out. But because some of you haven't and some of you have got the die piece, just the pieces. So I'm just lining sentiment straight, piece straight, head coming over the top. I am just going to stamp that down. Hopefully I've not dropped too far down when I came down with that. Nope, that's fine. So obviously, oh, excuse me, most of you have got the die set, so you don't need to do that. It's just one or two of you haven't. Right, so that's all my stamping. I don't think, oh no, we've got to have our pelican on the inside. So I'm just going to do our pelican, and he's again in the Pacific Point. I do not use my Pacific Point as much as I should do, because it is a beautiful blue. So I've got my card base here, so it's a standard A6 card blank made of thick whisper white, and I am just going to get my pelican, it's a pelican, Linda. I'm surprised I'm not calling them a puffin, because I'm about to do some work on the Party Puffins stamp set for a class. So right, and I'm just stamping him just in the corner here on the inside. I do like a bird on a card, I don't know why, but there you go. So there's just finishes off the inside nicely. So pop that to one side. So now we need to do some trimming. Okay, so where's my post? There's my post-it note. So we're going to take the front piece of the card, and I'm going to trim that down now to 13 by 8.5. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim off this bit of C. Okay, so I want it to go to the edge of the C, so I'm just lining the C up with the groove, and I'm popping that off, and then I need to trim that to 13 centimetres. So that'll just take off a little bit of the C on this side, but it just fits beautifully, as you can see. And if you do have a little bit of white there, it'll be covered up by the die cut that we're going to stick on the front. And then I'm just going to take the top, because I've got this lined up at the bottom, so I'm going to take this to 8.5 centimetres. It's currently 9. So I'm just going to take, oops, don't move it, just going to take that top ½ centimetre off. So it was 13.5 by 9, and I've trimmed it down to 13 by 8.5 to get rid of any of the nasty edges from the blending. Okay. So this is then going to go on the Granny Apple Green, which is just a few millimetres bigger. It's about 4 millimetres bigger than this one. I'm just going to get my Tombow liquid multi-purpose glue. You don't need much of this at all. It sticks really, really well. So, and I keep it upside down in a candle holder. I've got several candle holders, you know, where the candles have gone, the little votives, and they actually are perfect for putting things like glue in, blending brushes, all sorts that you want to keep vertical, and they're really good for keeping glue flat. Now, I knew there's something I was going to forget to do there. I'm actually going to leave it. So I did actually trim my C on the other one, but I've forgotten to do it. So I'm just going to stick that on so it just sticks out either side. And again, with my multi-purpose glue, I'm just going to get my silicone mat out if I can find it. I'm doing a bit of storage racks, hints and tips here. These are all in a letter rack with my stencils and things. So it's just because I don't want to get glue everywhere. And I am just going to put little dots on the thicker bits. So you definitely need a dot in each corner so that it sticks down. And then at the ends and sort of turning points. So any of the thicker parts, definitely. Some of the thinner parts too, to give it some stability. Okay, and I've got it on the mat because if any of the glue squeezes out, it's really easy to wash off the mat, and it's not on my paper, and I'm not sticking everything else to it. Okay, so got some there. So I'm just using tiny weeny little dots because you don't want it to squirt out. Miss that corner there. And then along the bottom here. There we go. Okay, put that back in its candle holder. See, did miss a few, so I'm going to pop that one side and dry, and it just rinses off under the tap. It's fabulous. Okay, so you still managed to get some on the front. Right, so I'm just going to position that to this side here, and then line it up over here. There we go, and you can see it's just very slightly longer than the white. But how beautiful is that? Okay, there we go. And then I'm just going to use a little bit again of the Tombow on this little piece of cloud that then lines up on the cloud. So again, little dots, start in the wider bits and then move to the narrow bits once the glue's started flowing. And it does take a bit of practice doing these little tiny dots, but it's worth it. You can, Stampin' Up! do a narrow tip glue, which is really good, but by the time they brought it out, I got the hang of doing this, so I haven't actually got any of it. Because I manage really well without. Oh, there we go. I'm going to say, however, I don't manage without my tweezers, but there they are. Okay, so I'm picking that up. And I'm just going to position this onto the cloud, and the silicone mat's great because it keeps the cloud still, so I can move the extra bit to where I want it and then just dab it down. There we go, that's lined up with the edge. There we are. And then that's just popped on here with some more glue. Turn that over. Pop that in the corner there, nice and level. You can see where I've done the blending, it really stands out against that cloud behind it, which is really pretty. So now we've got the You Are Totally Awesome, and what I did was I put it on a piece of the Pacific Point, and I actually used a punch to cut this out, but I think I'm just going to leave it straight either end. The other thing as well, there are some diamantes on here. I've actually put them in your second card. Okay, so they're in next week's card, so you can either dig them out and use them, or you can wait until next week and then put them on, which is what I'm going to do. Right, so I think that worked out as about ½ an inch, yes, and that was to fit it into my punch. So I'll do it at ½ an inch again. Many of you've got the triple banner making punch, the pick a punch banner punch, excuse me, which is which you can use to cut the ends if you wish to do the flag end. So that's ½ an inch. Right, I'm going to have to do the post-it. So, really useful this. In fact, I normally have a piece of post-it up there so that I can just hold it in place. So when you're working with very small pieces, they don't wobble around all over the place. Okay, and I'm just going to thread this through the piece. And put a fine line of glue in the middle first. Just a little, there we go. for it to stick to. So and I just want it in the middle, but just going past the end. Okay, so it's just there on the end, and then I'm just going to trim the other one as well, so it's roughly the same. Okay, there we go. So I've just done that by hand, and then when I get the gems, in fact, well, I've got spare ones here anyway because I haven't used them all in the kits, so I shall pop mine on now. Okay, so oops, there we go. That's one just in the middle there, and then I'm just going to put another one just there. Okay, and then let's stick this to the Pacific point. So there are lots of layers in most of the cards I've done in this set this month, so they are going to be a little bit more time consuming than usual. And if you haven't got the kit and you want one, as I say, I'll struggle to get the foil, but everything else is still available. And if you just pop on to my website at lindaspapercraft.co.uk and then click on the My Shop link, and you can go along, and everything you need is on there. So, okay, and I'd be really pleased if you could, if you've enjoyed this video, if you can just add a little like. That always helps the algorithm. So the more people that like it, the more people will be shown it. Right, and I'm just going to get a little line of the ends here. So this is just the bones and on the outside of the dimensionals, and it just gives me a nice line that I can just pop on there, take the top off, and then add that to the card. Then I just need to add this piece to the front. So lots of layers, and I think you'll see it's a really pretty card, although, you know, suitable for anybody, male or female. Now there's 2 wave dies. It's the bigger one you want for this card, although the smaller one will work too. Probably should have said that about 10 minutes ago. Sorry about that, ladies. Right, so that's me done for today. Just line that up in the middle. And there we are, 2 totally awesome cards, I think you'll find. I've got that left because I didn't need to do my die cutting. And don't forget, you can always decorate the envelope as well. You don't just have to decorate the card. It's nice to have an envelope. I don't know, maybe we could put the heron. Should we put the heron on? Let's put the heron, who is really a pelican. Oh dear, it's a good job I'm not testing. Well, you're not testing me at the end, isn't it, really? So, and I'm just going to add our pelican on the corner here of the envelope, just to cheer everybody up. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. And as I say, if you want any more details, just either send me an email or click on the links below. Thumbs up would be fabulous. Subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, and I will see you again next week, hopefully on a Thursday instead of a Saturday. Okay, take care. Bye.